Hello humans, welcome back to another video. Just thought I'd do another quick update as I've got a bit more physical media. I recently did a quick run through of all my 4K, Blu-ray, Ultra HD, whatever um, releases, and I've got a bit of an update since then. I was hanging fire on actually doing that video because I had a few more that I was expecting. They have now arrived, plus a few extra Blu-rays, so I just thought I'd do a little quick update of the things that arrived in the last 2 days. I'd also do a little sort of mission statement for this channel. Thank you very much to anybody who's had a look at this channel. I understand and I appreciate that there are literally hundreds of thousands of YouTube videos and YouTubers doing content, reviews, unboxings, and I'm still sort of finding my way about what I want to do with this channel. It's primarily going to be reviews of films and Blu-rays and DVDs. It's a physical media sort of thing in a way because I'm a big supporter of physical media. I buy a lot of physical media. I don't always pay full price for it. I do like the sales and the online discounts and things, so I might be pointing some of those in your direction when I find them. But I do like building up a collection of physical things. Streaming is great, but it's not like actually owning a physical product in your hand that you can say, this is mine and this is always mine, and you're not subject to the whims and mercies of streaming service licensing agreements where your favourite films can disappear just when you want to have a quick look at them again. So I like to actually own these things. So I'll be doing some reviews of new releases and physical media as I get them, and that will include books and CDs, films, TV, all sorts of things. I'll be doing reviews of new films as and when I see them. A couple of those coming up now. There's a video review of Greenland coming very soon, the new Gerard Butler disaster movie, which is on Amazon Prime. That video is being prepared at the moment, and that should be with you very, very soon. But now, for now, I'm just doing a quick update. So, the whole nature of this channel will probably change as I find different things I want to do with it. If you're interested, if you're remotely interested in my views and opinions, just let me know in the comments down below anything that you'd like me to do, any direction you think this channel might want to go, or if you've got any ideas and ways to make it a little bit more unique. It's early days. I've only got a handful of subscribers at the moment, but I'm hoping with a word of mouth and if I keep putting up vaguely interesting content that as Kevin Costner once said, if you build it, they will come. So hopefully they will come. Anyway, for tonight, it's just a very quick update, as I said, on some physical media purchases. I'll just run through them quickly. As I said, I've a few bits and pieces I was waiting for, and they've all arrived over the last couple of days. But I thought, as I hadn't posted anything for a while, I would do the update that I did on the weekend, which was the Blu-ray collection. 3 more to add to that collection. Now, the first of those is another one from Marvel, The Incredible Hulk. As I said, I'm trying to update all my Blu-ray collection of the Marvel Cinematic Universe to get them on 4K, and I'm sort of getting there slowly but surely. The Incredible Hulk, I think, is one of the most underrated films. It's the film that followed Iron Man in the Marvel canon, I think. And it's a very underrated film. It stars Edward Norton, of course, who put his own particular brand on the character of Bruce Banner as he metamorphs into the Hulk. And it's sort of, it's not exactly a sequel to Ang Lee's Hulk, but it's not an origin story. Fortunately, we don't have to go through the whole Bruce Banner bombarded by gamma rays becoming the Hulk. As this film starts, he's already the Hulk and causing chaos. Whether you take that as the first film, the Ang Lee film, or that they just decided not to go down that road again. But this isn't sort of up to the standard of what we get now from Marvel, but it's an important step on the way. And there's nothing wrong with this film. I watched it maybe a year ago and I thoroughly enjoyed it. The Hulk's not one of my favourite characters, but I think that Edward Norton does a good job. Obviously, Mark Ruffalo has made the character his own now. But I think this is obviously, it's part of the cinematic universe. It's one you've got to have. It looks great on 4K. And yeah, The Incredible Hulk, that arrived yesterday. Another 4K and another underrated film. This is Mortal Engines. Now, this is based on a young adult series of books. I don't know a great deal about it. But it's produced by Peter Jackson and directed by Christian Rivers. And this is the story of a future world, where cities are mobile and they swallow up other towns and villages and absorb their inhabitants. Incredibly vivacious film. I haven't seen it on 4K yet. I saw it on Blu-ray a couple of years back, and I'm looking forward to seeing it again because there's so much going on in this. It's really exciting, good cast, just extraordinary special effects. The visuals are stunning for such a big, sort of audacious and possibly rather silly idea. And I think it's a shame that it didn't do very well at the box office. It sort of disappeared really. I think it was probably released at the wrong time of the year. I think it was released just before Christmas back in, where are we talking now? 2000 and whenever it was, 3 years ago maybe. And I think maybe it wasn't an obvious Christmas film, and it sort of got lost in the rush. And I think the studio maybe were expecting it to be a new Lord of the Rings type franchise, but of course it didn't happen because it was a big bomb. But I think creatively it's just incredible work of imagination, and looking forward to seeing it again on 4K. Third and final, 4K is another recent favourite. It's the most recent King Kong, Kong Skull Island, which I think is a terrific film. I saw this 2 or 3 times at the cinema. I'm a big fan of Kong. He's my first go-to monster. I think I mentioned in the last video when I talked about Peter Jackson's King Kong. He's the monster that introduced me to monsters, really, when I saw the original King, the 1930s King Kong that was shown on those BBC midnight movie selections that so many of us grew up on, learning about the history of genre films, really, from the old Universal films right up to Hammer and all points in between. Kong's not always been treated particularly brilliantly on in the cinema. The 1976 version by Dino De Laurentiis is a bit less than the sum of his parts, but it has its moments. But this, I think, is a fantastic sort of resurrection. It's set in 1973. Expedition goes to Skull Island and discovers this big fella. Tom Hiddleston, Brie Larson, Samuel L. Jackson. It's great. It's a fantastic adventure film. Again, great special effects. I accept that the characterization is a little bit on the thin side, but you don't really go into a film like this looking for great characters. I think it's got a good story. The characterization does what it needs to do, and hugely enjoyable. Funny enough, a lot of people at the time criticised it because they said, we see King Kong too quickly. He turns up in one of the first scenes. Well, my answer to that was, we know what King Kong is. He's a giant ape. You know, there's no surprise if you hold him back for half an hour or an hour. You know he's an ape, so why hold back on it? Because you're here to see him, and we just see a sort of a quick flash of him at the beginning. It's a great film anyway. I'm really looking forward to it. I'm slightly apprehensive about the forthcoming Kong and Godzilla film because I'm not a big Godzilla fan. I think Hollywood hasn't captured the essence of whatever it is that makes Godzilla so popular, and I'm a bit worried that he will drag Kong down. But I think Kong will probably kick his ass, so I think all will be well in the end. That's the 4K update. I've had a few extra Blu-rays as well, which I collected. There's a sale at the moment, or may well still be in place on HMV for all BFI titles. Now the BFI released some sort of boutique titles, and not obscure, but more art house perhaps, niche market type things. And I particularly want to mention this one. I'm not going to say a lot about it because I'm going to do a particular video about it later in the week when I've watched it again. It's called Little Joe. Now this came out last year. It's directed by Jessica Hausner. I think it's her first English language film, and I'm going to do a full review on it because this blew me away when I watched it last year. It came out in January last year. I don't think it was ever going to be a big Cineplex, Cine World sort of release, big multimedia release, but I think because it is quite an arty sort of science fiction film. Came out in January, got a bit lost then when the first lockdown appeared. Finally arrived on physical media. I think it was in June, and I was lucky enough to get a review disc, and it became, I think it was my film of the year because it's such a haunting story, very otherworldly, very clinical, cold. If you like the vein of science fiction of Invasion of the Body Snatchers and The Thing, paranoid sort of stories about the loss of self and the loss of identity, then I think you'll like this because it's quite a cold, bleak, disturbing film because it is about people losing their humanity and losing themselves under the influence of these little fellas here, the plants. A new breed of plants that are being bred that can live without human interference and humans looking after them. But there's a bit of a side effect. I won't say any more because I say I'm going to do a full review on it later in the week. But just an advance warning, if you're interested and you go onto hmv.co.uk, you'll find this for £6.99 at the moment. And if you're a fan of intelligent science fiction, it will not disappoint. This one I picked up because I've sort of have vague memories of watching it back in 1974. It's a BBC Play for Today production, which the BFI have spruced up and brought out on Blu-ray. It's called Penda's Fen. It's directed by Alan Clark and stars young Spencer Banks, who people of a very, very specific vintage will remember from one of my favourite science fiction serials of the early 1970s, Time Slip, which was the story of two children, Liz Skinner and Simon Randall, who have the ability to slip back through time. Incredibly intelligent children's science fiction series. Again, one of the bedrocks of my interest in the whole genre, really, and why I'm involved in doing stuff today. I haven't seen this for years now, and I always saw it at the time. It was probably a bit above me. It's a story of sort of, well, as it says, exploring themes of personal and national identity, language, history, and industrial progress. Boldly weaves his exquisite, fantastical imagery with the rousing music of Elgar to tell a tale of ancient legends and sexual awakening, which stands as one of British television's greatest ever achievements. So I'm really looking forward to seeing this, and I may well do a longer video on this one once I've seen it. It's going to look great on Blu-ray. It's got special features, of course, a little documentary made in 2016 about the making of it, and yeah, I'm very much looking forward to seeing this classic of British television. Two more old classic films, again, one's from the BFI on sale at the moment. I've got this on DVD. I had a check disc when it came out on this particular edition, but I had to get the full boxed edition because it's got a very nice little booklet about the history of the film. It's a classic British science fiction film, one of the great British science fiction films, The Day the Earth Caught Fire, which was released in 1961. It's in black and white. It stars Edward Judd. It's directed by Val Guest. It's a very low key. It's a very British science fiction film. It's very much concerned with people and drama, and the thing I like is sort of humanity battling against something disastrous which is about to happen, whether it's to individuals or the species. Basically, what's happening here is it's an end of the world story about the Earth being knocked off its axis and is on a collision course with the sun, and London basically is boiling. There's a reporter who is Peter Stenning, played by Edward Judd, who is trying to report on what's happening and find out the truth and find out what the governments of the world are trying to do to save the situation. Leo McKern plays the one of the editors of the newspaper, the Daily Express. And a lot of it was filmed around the old Daily Express buildings in Fleet Street, which of course Fleet Street is no longer the home of what they laughingly call the British press these days. I think the press lives in the sewers. I'm not sure these days. But anyway, this is a great film, very atmospheric, very tense. You really get that sense of uncomfortable heat as the world basically burns. It's got a very bleak sort of ending. And I'm really looking forward to seeing it again. It's one of those films you can watch every year or so and just remember the days when science fiction wasn't all bang, flash and explosions and buildings bursting into flames. It's about people and terror, basically. It's a great film, and again, it's available quite cheaply from HMV at the moment. Final one is another classic, which I picked up. Actually, this came a couple of weeks ago, but it's been sitting there. Another science fiction classic. This goes back to 1957, directed by Jack Arnold, and starring Grant Williams and Randy Stewart. It's The Incredible Shrinking Man, based on the Ray Bradbury story, Richard Matheson story, and it's the story of Scott Carey as just an ordinary young married guy on a sea cruise with his wife. Passes through a strange cloud, a strange mist that covers him in a strange glittery dust. All of a sudden, Scott finds himself losing weight, but it's not just that he's losing weight, he's becoming smaller, he's becoming tiny. And it's the story of how he becomes smaller and smaller, and eventually so small that he disappears into the cellar and has to deal with all sorts of horrors like a giant spider and just the business of staying alive when he continues to shrink. And it's got a very evocative, philosophical sort of ending, because again, a lot of these films in the 50s and 60s, these early science fiction films, weren't bothered with happy endings and sending the audience out with a big smile. It wanted to make them think, and The Incredible Shrinking Man does that. I watched it not so long ago. I haven't watched this particular disc yet, but I think I had it on DVD or something. I watched it, and it still stands up. The effects are still good, and the plight of poor Scott is quite heartbreaking, because you sort of realise that there's no going back, without spoiling it too much if you've not seen it. It's one of the classics of the genre, and very, very, very much recommended. So that's Incredible Shrinking Man on Blu-ray. So that's my update of new physical media that's arrived in the last couple of days. I will do more updates if you're interested. I mean, I noticed that the last couple of unboxing videos haven't had as many views as some of the other videos. Not that I haven't got the thousands of views yet, but if that's not the sort of thing you want me to do, then I will focus on reviews or other bits and pieces. But as I said, let me know in the comments, and like and subscribe and all that sort of stuff. The channel is going to look a bit sparkier soon. I've got some things coming which will make it look like more of a bit of programming rather than just me talking to the screen. I've got I got my top team on putting some visuals together, which you'll see in the coming weeks. But for now, it's just me talking into a camera and wittering on about stuff I've bought, which is always fascinating. So anyway, let me know what you think of this video. Let me know what you think of any of the films that I've picked up and just talked about. And I look out for a review, particularly of Little Joe, because that's a film I really want to spread the word about. I know it's been out a year or so now, but it's gone under the radar so many people, and it needs to be seen, basically. So yeah, that's it for this video. Hope it provided a few minutes of diverting entertainment. Like, subscribe, and all that sort of crap, do what you like. And I'll see you soon. Take